Hey everyone, and welcome to day 8 of my 12 days of anime videos. Today I'm going to be talking about Netflix anime and sort of their contribution to the anime community as a whole over this past year. So everyone knows what Netflix is, I don't need to explain what that is. But the fact that Netflix obviously is a streaming service, but unlike Crunchyroll and a lot of the anime streaming services that offer new weekly updated episodes when things are coming out, Netflix bulk drops the entire season so you can watch it, just binge watch it as much as there is and get through a whole season in a day or a couple days. And with that sort of framing and obviously, I guess, publication of their works, it has grown this culture of binge watching. I think most people nowadays do just wait for the whole thing to come out and then watch it all at one time, and not just on Netflix but on other streaming services too. And I myself am guilty of that. I tend to wait until anime is finished or TV shows are finished and then I'll watch the whole thing all at one time, because I don't necessarily have the time in my schedule to sit down, or I won't remember to sit down and watch a new episode every single week. And again, some people forget what's going on week to week, things like that. So with Netflix has always offered anime, or at least for its streaming services, it's always offered anime. It's always had a lot of the very popular Aniplex series on there, as well as a couple other just original titles, normal Netflix original stuff. One that comes to mind is the Sinbad spin-off from Magi. But there's a couple other things too. This past year, we've seen so many more Netflix original produced anime come to the platform. My two favorite, of course, or my couple favorites, were out at the beginning of the year. That's Devilman Crybaby, that's Violet Evergarden, and that's Agretsuko. I'm sure most of you have seen those, but there's also like Aiko and Be the Beginning, and other things that I can't really remember, but they have quite a few Force of Piano, which is one that I do actually want to watch sooner rather than later, and a lot of other stuff that's underneath their Netflix original banner, where they're not shown anywhere else on TV or anything. They're just released online for this streaming service because Netflix helps produce them and helps them get made. They have Seven Deadly Sins. They have both seasons of Magi, as well as I mentioned, the spin-off of Sinbad. They have so many well-known titles, as well as maybe some lesser ones like Force the Piano, both seasons of that. The second season is coming out next year. Violet Evergarden, which had a lot of hype, but obviously is not really attached to any previously existing franchise. Agretsuko was a breakout hit for them. And for this coming year, we're going to be seeing an adaptation of Seven Seeds, which was like really unexpected and really welcome news. And of course, as everyone knows, they have also licensed or gotten the rights to Neon Genesis Evangelion, and assumingly will probably give it a new dub. I can't say that that's 100% true, but considering the age of the dub and how this is going to be open for more casual fans and hopefully introduce more and more people to the franchise, having an updated dub would probably be in their best interest, because really that dub doesn't hold up if you've listened to it recently. The main performances are good. I'm not ever going to take away what that show was able to achieve, but oh boy, you've got 5 voice actors for every background character and you're just gonna cycle through them. And if you hear Vic Mignogna 7 times in 3 episodes, well, that's your problem, not mine. It really isn't up to today's standards for dubs, and I know that's maybe a controversial opinion, but I think that's the reality of the situation. And for Netflix, who obviously want to gain as much as they can from this new acquisition, it just makes sense for them. And I would like to hear if they did a new dub for Neon Genesis Evangelion, because I like that show and I would be interested in a new dub anyway. They're also, of course, doing live action versions of stuff, or at least, you know, opening them and licensing them. Things like the Fullmetal Alchemist live action. I know that Parasite, I think, is on there. And Erased. I think a different Erased from what I saw in cinema, which I mentioned in my last video. I think it's a different Erased. Mob Psycho 100 as well. And of course, their upcoming live-action Cowboy Bebop, which, again, sort of a sacred cow. I don't think people really know what to think about that. But the amazing thing that Netflix has done for the anime community, we've seen it with comic books as well, of course, with the Marvel and DC franchises. Nerdy stuff is becoming more and more mainstream. Really, comic books have hit the limit, have hit the peak. They're just normal popular culture now. Nobody's going to look at you weird if you say you read comic books or you enjoy superheroes. And I think anime is just that next step into that. Of course, manga is just a different type of comics. And of course, anime is such a culture that's already established in Japan. They have a whole lifetime's worth of stories that are beloved that they can adapt. And so it's really interesting to see if we are going to be, in the future, going forward, how this sort of fandom and this community will become more and more mainstream, because it is. With the advent of online streaming and Netflix, of course, introducing it to the more casual viewer, and of course my generation and a little bit older are definitely of the Toonami era, where we saw a lot of shows, you know, after or before school, so it's within our nostalgia. Anime has really become part of the social mindset. We know what it is. It's not really that weird to be a fan of this sort of medium, and although people are there's still this level of like, oh, you're an anime fan? For some people, I would really say that they are the minority nowadays rather than the majority. I would say most people have seen their own, you know, whether it be Dragon Ball or Death Note or One Punch Man or Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. It's not like nobody has experienced this in their past or even currently. It's still, I think, it's not a misunderstood hobby anymore. And you see that thanks to conventions and how many people do attend those events. And as I was saying, Netflix has just even grown that audience more by being just a general streaming service, but offering a whole variety of anime, some with some really, really big push and hype around it. It inevitably means that people will be introduced to the medium and maybe discover a show or a couple shows that they never realized that this is what anime could be. They think, oh, it's just Pokemon, oh, it's just the kids shows like a Dragon Ball or a Yu-Gi-Oh! And then you watch Devilman Crybaby and you're like, oh no, that's not what this is at all. Or you watch any of the multitudes of, because there's so many shows on there now, and I haven't seen all of them. I couldn't even tell you the plot of like half of them, but there's so much there, from mecha to drama to music to magical girl to romance to whatever you want. So in that way, and going into the future, I'm sure that Netflix is definitely bringing more and more people into this hobby, or at least into appreciating this genre more than, or this medium, not genre, more than they did previously. By having accessibility to the common folk, as it were, it allows it to become more acceptable and to become more mainstream, which is what Marvel and, to a lesser extent, not really DC, but the Batman films have done for comic books. It's become just part of the cultural narrative for most people. And I feel like anime is heading towards that. I don't necessarily think it'll ever be a billion-dollar industry like the Marvel films are right now, but it's going to be, I really do believe that in the future we're going to see less and less of like people confused about like what anime and manga is, or what it is, or whether it's just all Pokemon or hentai. We're going to see a lot more overall understanding of this type of entertainment, and that's really cool. Yes, as I've mentioned, there's a lot of shows that came out this year on Netflix. There's also like anime inspired shows that came out on Netflix. I just finished watching Castlevania yesterday, actually, and that was a good show. I'm looking forward to season 3 of that one. But we're seeing more and more anime influence in Western properties as well, which we've seen since, Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it is becoming more and more obvious in Western animated media, whether it be for children or not. So let me know your thoughts. What Netflix anime have you watched? Do you have Netflix? I assume most people do. If you do, have you seen, Violet Evergarden or Agretsuko or Devilman Crybaby or Be the Beginning or Aiko or what's the other one? That Blam, that the movie adaptation of that was on there. There's a lot. There's the original Fullmetal Alchemist on there now, thanks to Aniplex. I don't know if Madoka is still on there. Blue Exorcist is on there, and Your Lie in April, I think, is on there. There's a lot. But let me know if there's any shows that you follow on Netflix, and your opinions on Netflix, whether you'd be happier if it did come out week to week because that's how you prefer to watch your shows, or whether you don't mind waiting the extra 3 to 6 months for them to dub it all and to just drop it in your lap. And so you have the option of a dub in your language or subtitles in your language with the Japanese original audio versions, because that's another really great thing that they do, is encouraging this multitude of dubs and allowing more and more people to watch it all over the world, whether or not there's subtitles or just in their native language. But let me know your opinions. I'll catch you in the next video, guys. Bye till then.